Good morning, everyone. Or good morning. Wow, that was a reflex. Good afternoon. We are back from break. It's a little after 2:15, and we are going to take a look at page 762. My information is correct. That is an act relating to the County and Regional Governance Study Committee. This is the draft language that I referenced before we went on break. Council, how are you, sir?
Doing well.
Would you mind running through the changes with the committee?
Be happy to. For the record, Tim Devlin, Legislative Council, and committee members, you have draft 1.2, which is, of a committee amendment offered by this committee. And House Bill number 7.2, Act relating to County and Regional Governance Study Committee. And the committee may recall that the prior version actually that the Chair Byron has the refresh my own memory. Have we walked through this one?
Yeah, we did a walkthrough and introduction on the original one. Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you. So because this was a committee bill, then it was introduced, and now we're back amending committee bill again with a committee amendment.
Committee amendment.
I own self up to speed on that one. Thank you for your patience. So when it was last in this committee, you'll recall that basically it did a few things. It pushed out the deadline for when this committee would sunset, the deadline for the report that it was to before it mentioned that it'd be really a final report. There was an interim report released by this committee already, as well as adjusting how the chair was to be selected. There were two co-chairs, and then it will be changed to one chair that's elected from its members. The highlighted portions of this reflect two kind of categories of changes. One, we have an insertion of legislative intent on page 1, and then sprinkled across page 2, 3, and 4. We have some small alterations to the powers and duties of the committee. So first, just reading through the legislative intent section, we added to section 1A. And just for quick reference, this is session law, so there's no real statutes being amended here. Legislative intent. It is the intent of the General Assembly that existing direct coordination and communication between the state and Vermont municipalities should be retained or strengthened. County or regional governance should enhance the work of the local and state governments, not become a procedural barrier between state and municipalities. Moving on to the powers and duties of the committee, the bottom of page 2. The committee shall study and make recommendations to the General Assembly on how to improve the structure and organization of county and regional government, including, we now read, coordination and optimization of regional government provided by state, regional, and local agencies, including for public safety, emergency management, and public health purposes. B, enhancement of regional collaboration and planning and implementation. C, really new, coordination, increased transparency, potential efficiencies, and service improvements of non-governmental agencies providing regional public services, including but not limited to designated mental health agencies and public transit providers. Next, new language we have an F. Review the role and authority of elected county officials and their departments. G, reduction of duplicated or conflicting public services and promotion of opportunities for intermunicipal collaboration. Skipping to I, review of mechanisms of county and regional government structures in other states. And then turning the page to the top of page 4, K, the role of Department of Public Safety and Vermont Emergency Management responding to all hazards events. And just quick note that K was actually added by the underlying bill as well, which is expanded here. Specifies which agencies and departments will be examined in the role of responding to all hazard events. That's it.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think I've said this at least twice leading up to this particular conversation, that this is just an attempt to sort of hone in with more clarity what the charges and duties are for the committee once it is established after it is dissolved in its current form, because that's how it lays out in statute. Rebecca.
Quick question. So is this report that would be due December 15th, 2026, the final report?
That is the only report that is being requested here.
Okay,
But the thought process is that this is such a large scope of work for this committee that once the report is delivered, the committee of jurisdictions do work within those recommendations, that there might be a need for that committee to do continued work after the fact. So that was the thought process behind that, was it might need to be a series of work and not just like a one and done.
so my question with that goes back to the report that we heard from the Public Safety Communications Task Force. And were it not for interested members of the committee, that report would have stayed on a shelf and nobody would have done anything with it. So my concern is that might happen to this in December this year. This report will sit and no one will continue working on it because we will have turned over membership in the legislature, right, after the next election. And I think there should be something in legislation that requires to keep on meeting. Isn't that sort of what happened? Why it's been
Oh, what caused this
Stalls in the
delay?
past.
That was the committee itself saw 3 members vacate the committee structure,
Mhm.
2 because of electoral loss, 1 due to a committee assignment change,
Mhm.
because the current committee in statute requires the chair of House Gov Ops and the chair of Senate Gov Ops. So this is changing that configuration so that into a more traditional structure. And then it was really to the delay, right? Like it was getting the members put on assigned by Speaker's office and then trying to pick up the work itself. So that's really where the delay came from. That one. It wasn't because of a lack of desire for people within the body
Right.
to address.
But don't you think the same thing could happen again in 2026? So whoever's a member of the committee now could potentially not return and continue working. Shouldn't there be some kind of legislative mandate that this committee keeps working until they can make a recommendation to the General Assembly?
Well, the recommendation is the report on,
Okay, so that's the final report.
that is the one report that is being
Okay.
correct.
That
yes.
was my original question.
Sorry.
And I was not clear on your answer, so thank you.
And then this ELC with the cease to exist date was originally
Yeah.
2026, which is now the original draft of 2027. But Senator Harrison and I agreed that you add an extra year just to have the committee in existence in case there needed to be more work after into the second year of the biennium.
So sorry, I didn't read this ahead of time because now I'm going back to, will that core committee still be in existence? It will till December, right? And then after that, if there are recommendations that should be made going forward, who is responsible for carrying out the recommendations? Maybe I wasn't clear. Question.
So if there's a vacancy on the committee due to a electoral loss, it's the Committee on Committees and the Speaker's office role to reassign members if there were something to occur, like an electoral loss, retirement or some other. So that would maintain the committee's structure in its whole sum. And then this deliverable here is just the date in the brunt of the work would probably occur before
Okay,
the election anyway. Because then it's just drafting and delivery for the most part. And then I just believe having it exist for an extra year is just a good safeguard for continued work and continuity of the focus with the members who are charged with the original delivery.
sure. I'm just concerned that the recommendations in the report won't get carried out, that nobody is mandated to carry them. The report is to be made to the GovOps committees. And any recommendations for legislative action, but who would be responsible for making sure that legislative action is carried out?
The legislative committees. I mean, they know what's coming. This is a big conversation around the building. I don't think anybody's forgetting about this one. Any other questions for this? Yep.
I'm thinking, would this almost fall into that big graph that we were working on the rules and reports bill? Wouldn't this fall into that? So that if nothing got done by 2028, it would show up on the rules, on the reports bill and.
I mean, it is a report, right? But this isn't an ongoing one. Those were more addressing ones that were requested like year over year, every biennium, whereas this one is requesting one report on one date certain.
Okay.
And the committee itself dissolves, and the proposal is to have the committee to dissolve in July of 2028. So it would cease to exist in statute and not be one of those things that we are like, oh, wait, this thing's still here.
I guess it would go back to the leadership of 2027, whoever is in leadership to make, because the bill's gonna come back to us after December 26th. This is 26.
Yes.
And then, once you get introduced, then it's gonna be ongoing, I would think. It's not gonna be something that's just gonna be read the first time and go away.
Rep one.
Yeah, I believe they're just submitting one report and then the standing committees of government operations will review that report and say if they read the report and think ongoing work needs to continue, then they could bump out the committee's existence to longer than 2028.
Yes, yeah.
But if it were an ongoing report, it would say that the committee shall report annually to the House and Senate.
It's a little bit of a safeguard, just knowing what the scope of work is within the charges and duties here, or powers and duties, however it's phrased. And recognizing that it might not be a completed scope of work. Not knowing how refined or detailed the first report's deliverable is. And then also not knowing how those recommendations will evolve throughout the first year of next biennium.
Who introduced this bill?
I did. I'm the chair of the current committee.
Gotta come back. Okay,
Or one of the co-chairs of the. Any questions for council? So I do want to get this one out this week. I think Senator Harrison wants to discuss what we just reviewed briefly from her perspective, so we're going to try and schedule that, but I think I would like to. We already have it scheduled for discussion and possible vote at 1 p.m. on Friday. So I will communicate with her to come in to speak to these words before our.
sounds good.
All right. All right, look at us. 2 minutes late. All right, up next, H 11, an act relating to election of adjutant and inspector general. That is the topic here of the Vermont National Guard. We have a new draft. Walkthrough committee discussion, council, good to see you again.
Good afternoon, Sophie Zadatny for the Office of Legislative Counsel. As this is a long bill and we walked through it the other day, I just very quickly put together something just to give a really quick overview of what's where so you can find it quickly if you're looking for particular pieces. So 811 now includes a couple of other bills, several other bills, I should say. Is it okay if I go ahead and share my screen?
Nick, we share this.
And I'll do it. Is that okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, please.
So my thought was to just go through the new sections. So again, these first 39 sections are dealing with the change from adjutant and inspector general to just adjutant general. And then it has in the provision that 811 originally started off with, which is section 5 on page 4, which is adding that statutory cross-reference. So I'm going to do it actually. I'm stop sharing for a minute so I don't make you all feel ill. Let's forward to. Sections. Okay, so the first piece is adding in a definition to Gold Star family member that would go right at the beginning of the Vermont statute. So this is a section in Title 1 that lists out definitions that cover the whole of all the other titles. And so this would add in a definition for Gold Star family member, and this will be the Vermont definition, as has been explained. There isn't a sort of single federal definition. There's a Department of Defense definition, but each state kind of has their own definition. So this would be the one for Vermont. Gold Star family member means any spouse, parent, child, sibling, grandparent, or grandchild of a member of the U.S. Armed Forces who lost their lives while serving on active duty or on active duty for training, or while assigned in a reserve or National Guard unit in drill status, or as a result of injury or illness incurred during such service or assignment. And so that additional fleshing out of the definition is prompted by the next section, section 41. So I'll just keep going here. So section 41 is to deal with the vanity plates, but the Gold Star plate. So currently, the reference to Gold Star, this is the only place in Vermont law that actually references Gold Star right now. And this provides currently that Gold Star plates are only issued to widows or widowers, parents, and next of kin as defined in 10 U.S.C. 1126D. And again, this is limited to individuals whose family member was killed in action. And then under current law, there's this next of kin plates. So one of the questions was, if we've expanded this definition of Gold Star, have we kind of, made redundant the next of kin plate? So my understanding is yes. So what happened was this additional language that's in the next of kin plates is now the language that's been incorporated into the definition. So you'll see the language that's deleted here is now the definitional language in the previous section. So essentially, the way this amendment would read is that Commissioner of Motor Vehicles on proper application would issue Gold Star plates now to anyone who qualifies as a Gold Star family member. That is now what's covered in section 40, yes, section 41. All right, and then moving on to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Morgan.
Sophie, can I back up to one real
Yes.
quick? Just the back in 40, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I just want to make sure we're covered. Under the Gold Star family member, we say, and if I missed it, I apologize, while serving on active duty or on active duty for training, got it. Or while assigned in a reserve or National Guard unit in drill status, which is for guardsmen reservists is 1 week in a month, covers that. Or as a result of injury or illness incurred during such service or assignment. Is that kind of a catch-all for all other service statuses that a guard or reserve member could be in? Does that last after or as a result? Does that cover? Because with the guard, well, not the reserves, they're Title 10, but the guard being 32, 10 when activated gets complex. As you know.
Right.
I just want to make sure something happens in a situation, yeah, potentially, right?
As a result, so for instance, my instance would be as a result of injury or illness incurred. Illness incurred, well, not during though.
Well, yeah, no, true, but what I'm more driving at is where does that gather any, what I'm getting at, no, I full appreciate for what you're saying, thank you, Cindy, but does it for trouble framing this, does it encompass all service that a guardsman or reservist would encounter in their time in uniform? Case in point, during the week, I'll use myself as an example. I was what they call an air reserve technician, day to day, Monday through Friday. I wore the uniform, but was paid as a civil service employee. There, chances are you wouldn't be in a situation where you would die on duty in that, but that's a poor example. Forget that. Never mind. But yeah, maybe. But I guess we're looking at more just framed as primarily combat, but I just want to make sure there's no fall through for anybody in any kind of status with the guard. The reserve, it's less sticky, but the guard, so I guess the bottom line is that, does that sentence cover? Mike, do you know what I'm getting at, Leo?
Yeah, what I was trying to think of an example while you're trying to get that out was, would it cover Title 32, which is not a drill status, but it would be an in-state status? And like when our guard deployed for Irene here in Vermont, to help in Vermont if something had happened to them.
They get swept away by the flood.
If, you know, would that cover somebody on Title 32, which is not, you know,
So
and not training?
At a time. Complete your thought, please, Rob, talking.
That's where I was at.
Rep. Hoover?
So we're moving towards a completely separate, meaning the Fed star was for combat related.
Right,
death.
yeah, no, and I recognize, I'm just trying to make sure there's no fall through.
Completely different criteria for Vermont.
There is no federal definition. The DOD has a definition. Sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify
no,
this.
no,
Just we're throwing those words around.
Right.
I'm just trying to make sure we don't have any fall throughs for the guard, that's all.
Right.
Now, like I said, I started giving an example, but that was a poor one. It's not a good example, and I probably would be hard pressed to find one, but I just want to make sure, because I've seen plenty of instances, not plenty, but I have seen instances where that has fallen through. But I gather that sentence covers it, so it's probably overthinking it. I'll leave my question alone.
Representative.
I have a follow-up on it. So are you saying somebody that was working on Route 4, activated by the governor, dies from a tobacco, qualifies?
No, because I believe that, because federal intent, the federal definition of Gold Star is combat related.
That's kind of my first question. Are we setting up a criteria that's consistent?
Do we want to, you mean? Are we intending to?
That's our license plate.
I don't know if maybe.
No, I was just trying to catch what.
He was saying, like, for instance, you know, soldier airman's deployed during hurricane operations, gets crushed by a bulldozer or something. Does that count? Is that part of it? And I'm like, I don't think so, but maybe if there's a move afoot to make that more encompassing at the state level, it's.
I'm sorry, what page are you on with the highlights?
So it's
The bottom
of
18
20 and
to 20.
21. But I would say we're probably fine. That's really.
So I can say the original plan was to just have Gold Star family member, meaning not just limited to those killed in combat, but including that language around
Right.
injury or illness incurred, right? So that
Yes.
was the original one.
Mhm.
And then as we got into the license plate piece, because that's, as I say, the only other place where Gold Star is mentioned, then the question was, do we then still need the next of kin?
Sure.
And then what was suggested was to use that next of kin language and incorporate that into the definition.
Okay.
So that's sort of the origin of it. Obviously, if there's other changes, we can make other changes, but.
Any other questions or comments?
Not trying to overthink it, but I guess it was just, I've just seen instances where, oops. And it's easy to do in that world, that's all. So, but thank you.
So moving on to section 42 that starts on page 22. This incorporates the H 531, which the committee's already gone through. So this is the hiring preference for military spouses. So there's no change to the actual language from what the committee's already reviewed. This is just a cut and paste in here. And then section 43 on page 24, this is or was H 555. That was not my bill, but this was the parking for disabled veterans that the committee was also interested in including in this bill.
43, yeah.
Section 43 on page 20, starts on page 24. And again, there's no changes, as I understand it, to this bill from what was introduced. And then has an effective date of July 1, 2026. And then right now, the title of the bill is around elections for the Adjutant General. So proposing that the title of the bill be amended to read an act relating to military affairs.
Yeah, that keeps the bills remain is pretty broad. So, I think that makes sense. So can safely encapsulate all of these different pieces. And then also, as it moves through the building, there may or may not be other conversations that might want to be included. So. And this is, yes, report.
Not to sound like a broken record, but is there a reason why this isn't a committee bill? So that way it has this title from the moment it gets to the floor for clarification for all members about like what is in the bill and what it's not.
So with the. Ask that again, like.
Is there a reason why this isn't being proposed as a committee bill that way? When it gets to the floor, because committee bills are introduced as new bills once they're voted out of the committee. When it gets to the floor, it will have this title of an act relating to military affairs. That way it's transparent to all members, the public. Or like, why is this being connected to 811?
By doing a strikeout, we were going to rename it, correct? Was that what I was actually doing before?
I was just asked to add those other bills into this one. So that's what I did.
I mean, we could still do it as a committee bill. It's still that, I mean, we still have the runway to do committee bills at this point in time on the calendar. I'm not, yes, Rep. Larson.
It seems like it's made up of bills from a variety of different members of the committee, so it would be nice if it were considered a committee bill. I'm with Rep. Whiting.
Rep.
Well, I think I'm still hung up on the language Mike and I were talking about. It seems like, forgive me if I'm wrong, that if you're called up to help with rebuilding Route 4 and you get bulldozer rolling over you and you die, why is that different than if you're out on a training weekend and you get a bulldozer roll over you and you die? Because,
I don't think I'm the one that qualified to answer that question.
well, the word drill in there narrows the scope of why you're actually out working for the state of Vermont as opposed to training for the state of Vermont. That seems weird.
Morgan, then Stone.
I guess it goes back to, we started to touch on it while I was talking earlier. Are we looking to expand at the state level the definition of a Gold Star family member? Because if we are, that's sort of what this is doing. And I think you're alluding to, are we expanding that definition at the state level from the federal designation of it? Because it certainly reads that way.
Yes, that's the intent.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, no.
It's my bill. That's the reason that we
Well,
put it
yeah, I just
forward
want to make sure
was
that
to
we're
expand
clear. Yeah.
on that and
Okay.
to connect service. So
So we're out of compliance or whatever with the federal thing anyway, so we might as well,
There's,
yeah.
I don't know if I can speak for you.
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, that was the whole point of it, was expanding so that people service connected,
Mhm.
you know, people who did not just die in theater were captured, because that's not happening. And there's not a federal definition, there's a
Right.
DOD definition.
Right.
And so now it's leaving it up to the states to put in their own definition. So that is why this all came about. I'm wondering if it would be, maybe if we just struck the word drill.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Reserve or National Guard unit in status?
Any status?
In status?
Are we back to
Free status.
Sorry, my,
That's.
I need my eye drop.
I want 21.
Thank you.
National Guard unit in,
Just strike drill.
I think you'd have to say in.
Yeah, you have to.
Status.
Okay.
Expand on what drill actually. In active service to the state.
Because again, I guess it goes back, I guess maybe,
Or active status, inactive status, because any status can
remember you got,
capture.
you got Title 10, you've got Title 32, you've got state active duty, you've got, help me out, BL, what else we got? I can throw into the mix.
Two different scopes of Title 32,
Yeah.
more than two.
That's what I'm just saying, should we take out the word drill and just put in any status? Or, and then, yeah, I think that would do it, because then
Any
say, or as a
activated
result of
status.
injury, illness.
That's what I said, active.
In any activated status.
It's almost like what I just
Yeah,
said.
no, but by calling it activated status, that I think that definition would cover.
All of it, because that's
All
what
of
I'm
the
saying. If you
titles.
put any status, I think you're gonna have things fall in there that you don't want. It's any activated status, any people who are activated under any status, whether it is title, because my person
Governor.
goes between two different
Mhm.
things all the time, whether he's at the Pentagon or, you know,
Yeah, that's part of what I'm driving at. There's
Title.
so much we want to make sure we capture.
so any active status,
Activated.
any activated
Whether
status
the
Yeah.
governor activates you
or
or the feds.
federal activated,
Or because drill,
that
you're
will cover it.
activated, because drill, you're activated
right?
for all of that.
Okay. Sophie, would that work?
I've got it.
Sorry.
So, okay. Are we refining the language right now?
To say any activated status, because like when,
No, I get what you're saying
Yeah.
by using those words. Like, I
Yes.
totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
yes,
I think that if council agrees, it sounds more encompassing.
expansive than just
Yeah.
drill.
Because drill is that
1 weekend.
1 weekend a month. It's a
Very
slice.
specific things.
In the last part of that sentence, could we say, or as a result of injury or illness as a result of such service or assignment? Instead of incurred during,
That was,
because that would take your PACT Act.
I would agree with that.
I got Pango, then I got,
So there is language around the burn pit eligibility that we might maybe tap into for that, because that's already being used at the federal level and it is very specific. So, but pretty encompassing, so maybe we could use that.
Well, I would agree with Cindy because, I mean, yeah, the burn pit now, you should have had, Anthony Orange and Illa. Should have had throwing tea boxes into the lake. It's our license plate, as far as I'm concerned, they ordered to whoever we went to.
Stone.
Whoever we deem for it.
I guess just to be clear, this will be in the definition. So again, if you refer to Gold Star at some point in the future in some other statute, it would come back to this definition. So just to be clear, because this language now is not limited to the license plate.
That'll be the front facing thing.
I'm just gonna read this, sorry. This was from someone who sits on the Governor's Veterans Advisory Committee. Thank you. They said they would suggest to add the language from page 21, line 1720, quote, who lost their lives while serving on active duty or in active duty for training or while assigned in a reserve or National Guard unit and drill status for result of injury or illness incurred during blah, blah, blah. Okay. at the end of Gold Star Family on line 21 of page 20 instead of who died while serving or from a service-connected illness or injury. And the reason why was it just gives the definition more meat.
So they basically would be supportive of what's there.
Correct, and they're the person who inspired this bill, and we may have heard from. As a witness.
Gary.
It's flagged. So that's why I'm like,
So that does not include. That's what I'm asking. Does
Does
that
it
include?
Not necessarily.
Right, for the way it's written right now, it doesn't include
service connected.
service-connected illnesses.
I like the language we just came up with.
Okay.
Morgan.
May I just suggest that we take it offline and a couple of us try to put words together and then we don't have to. Or
Or
are
we
you
can-
wanting something definitive right this minute on it?
I mean, we're having a conversation about what direction to go in. I, did want to get this larger bill voted out this week. So however people want.
I think it'll be like one phone call and then a side conversation that's like 5 minutes, and then we can produce something that we're all hopefully in agreement with.
I'm absolutely fine with that as a order of operations.
You get this from Gary.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you about.
So did this come from Gary, who I think is the chair of GVAC?
It came from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
NCSL, military task force, a lot of different.
Okay, but what I'm hearing is we're gonna hone this piece in and then do we want to move forward with the committee bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
All right, so the only piece that appears to still be hanging on this, because I just want to stay on target for the vote, is the what?
It's one sentence. I think we can get through it.
No, totally, but I'm just-
I think we can do
I'm
this.
just like reiterating the point that is the piece left hanging for people's comfort to vote this out. That's the point I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, and the whole intent is, at least from my perspective, is make sure it's all encompassing,
Yeah.
but yet. You also don't want to water down that definition to the point of ad infinitum too. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a fine line.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that. I was gonna say per example, but I don't want to cite names, but that would be fair without their permission, but anyway.
I think we can do.
So for the sake of time and desperate need the chair to take a bio break, that seems to be the one thing we need to refine. We're gonna head into a committee bill direction on the like I said, it works. And with that, we will break for 5 minutes and then we'll come back for the only piece of professional service related conversation, which is H 103.